Bootum.
Welcome, everyone, to the Per 36 podcast. I'm Alex.
And I am Simon.
We're joined today by a very special guest. The man I cannot... The reason I cannot go by Alex in Knicks communities, the one and only Alex Wolfe, contributor to Posting and Toasting. Well, I guess more than that, like editor and stuff. And also runs a Twitter. And also the host of the Locked On Knicks podcast. I don't know if I'm forgetting anything else.
No, that's it. That's my lengthy rap sheet. You got it.
Any awards? Any like average of 20-point double in high school?
No, I wasn't good enough in high school. I'm better at basketball like in real life now than I was in high school.
I feel that.
Yeah,
I feel that. I'm
Boo, you can relate.
Yeah, no, I'm.
We can both relate to getting cut from the what was that
All right, we don't.
the seventh grade basketball team
Yeah.
was a very a
It's
tough
rough-
day
rough
for us.
The waterworks.
There were
waterworks.
waterworks.
The waterworks came out. I mean, look. All I'm saying is I had 5 points in one scrimmage, and no one else did.
No, it was Jack hitting threes.
Oh, all right. Let's
Okay, we're done.
drag Jack team through the. I think we'll redact that.
That'll be nice.
Find him on Twitter. I'm gonna tell him you were talking junk about him.
Editing that out. I'm not. We can call Chris Wilkes a criminal, but we're not calling out real people.
Wait,
Well, I guess
so
Chris will.
do
All
you,
right.
do you want to just get that out of the way?
All right. Yeah.
Because
All right. So let's talk about that first.
To get Alex, and to give you some backstory, I'm a pretty big Kentucky basketball and UCLA basketball fan, and so I've been a Chris Wilkes guy for a while, and so when the Knicks signed him to that two-way, I guess it was right after the draft, I was super excited. I'm like, you know what, like he can catch and shoot. He's really athletic. If he works harder, like he could be a real player. And then right before Summer League, boom, they put him out with this mystery illness. And so the entire summer, there's no news. They talk about this mystery illness. And I have him on Snapchat, and every day his Snapchats were working out, eating tacos, sweating, like of his girlfriend, and like just fooling around with Jalen Hands. And I was like, okay, like I'm not doubting this illness, but like something fishy is here because he's not bedridden in the slightest. He's been working out, he's been playing basketball, and now we have Fizdale's quote of saying, he got ill. He came down with a serious illness. I don't know exactly what it was. It was pretty severe. So right now we're not going down that road.
That's him talking after we just signed
Ivan
Rabb instead. So what is does this add up to you that Chris Wilkes was so sick that the Knicks are like, no, like we can't sign you now?
Or specify the illness. Like
Yeah.
Sam Darnold has mono, like Sam Darnold has mono, and mono is embarrassing enough of an illness for a professional athlete. Like that'd be something you'd want to hide. But like I don't know what it could be that would make them.
And the other thing
secretive.
is they said they might bring him back in the future.
They've been saying that.
So what is your take? I mean, it doesn't have to be a real.
So is the prevailing theory now that he's actually a criminal?
No.
Fredo on the last podcast said, I think he's a part of the UCLA like stealing thing, so I think that's why.
I fact checked that.
Yeah, but that was just
immediately.
not true. So Fredo just has beef with Chris Wilkes.
Yeah, he was slandering Chris Wilkes on the pod.
So I don't know if that's the true theory. I wouldn't be surprised if it had something to do with personality or something. I don't know. It just seems a little. Just the fact they said they bring him back too, and like this doesn't make sense. Like you get sick, all right, fine. But he's not sick anymore. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what illness he could have that would be enough for him to like he could still work out and like have a nice time in his life, but not be well enough to play basketball for the Knicks. Like that's very fishy. I hadn't even really thought about this, and now all of a sudden the conspiracy theorist part of my brain is like kicking in. I'm like, what if this is all a big setup or something?
We're about to blow this thing wide open.
Yeah.
We're about to
and no one's asking these questions.
No one's
but
asking
us.
these questions. Yeah,
But us.
We're the muckrakers. I mean, it hurts because it's our favorite team, and this is probably gonna lead to like Karl Towns and Giannis both coming. Like,
Okay.
it all comes down to Chris Wilkes'
Hey,
sus contract.
I have something. So
all right.
I just looked on Twitter, and some random person named Martian Scorsese asked a question saying, "Did anything ever come out about Chris Wilkes' mysterious illness?" Jonathan Macri responded, saying, "Not that I've heard. I do not think it was actually an illness." So
Yeah.
there's the smoke from Jonathan.
Jonathan Macri adding to the conspiracy. He's a conspiracy theorist.
But it
Speculation.
it would be weird that like you hear it's not even like it's like, oh, he's signed to the Westchester Knicks or
Yeah,
he's
I don't
like
know. It's strange.
If I had to guess, he will be signed to the Westchester Knicks at some point, but maybe they just straight up decided they didn't like him enough to sign him to a two-way contract.
They could have just said that. I don't know what's up with the weirdness about. I don't know. I'm
This
sure they're
illness.
just doing nice by him. I don't know.
Well-
Something must
well,
have happened.
the
Something
only
like Tony
yeah.
Gordon-esque when he was going to join the Knicks. If anyone remembers that.
Yeah.
That's a per 36
I would
All-Star right
I would
there.
think that if they hadn't been using the illness line since literally like before Summer League, like right after the draft when they signed him, it was like, okay, Chris Wilkes is not going to play at Summer League because he's dealing with this.
He might have
illness.
just. It might have started off. Wasn't going to play at Summer League. Like maybe it was just like he got super hungover, like in Las
Yeah.
Vegas, and
That's
they're
a
just like,
theory.
yeah, that's my theory that he was just hungover in Las Vegas. So like, all right, screw this guy. We're not going to call you out on being hungover, but like, you're done. You're Gonzo ball. All right. Let's talk about some more prominent Knicks news. Game 1, the only deciding factor in the rest of the Knicks season. This one game shows what will happen the rest of the year and the rest of their careers. So RJ Barrett officially going to become the next, he's going to become the next Michael Jordan. If Michael Jordan, he's going to be Michael Jordan without a gambling problem, RJ Barrett.
I think it's a little unfair to RJ Barrett to compare him to Michael Jordan when he projects to really be that much better than Michael Jordan, I think.
I mean, as you saw, RJ Barrett was the second youngest player to score 20 points in his debut. And I don't even think Michael Jordan ever even scored 20 points against
Greg Popovich's Spurs.
I mean,
So,
I'll tell you what, Michael Jordan never scored 20 points in the NBA when he was 19 years old. So I don't really know what to tell all the haters here, but I think that we've got a pretty definitive case that RJ Barrett is better than Michael Jordan.
Here's the, and me and Bootum were talking about this last time, but I mean, I'll put it this way. I was not doubting that he would score 20 points in the opening. I just thought it would be on 9 of 23 shooting and not 9 of 13 with really no turnovers and just good all-around play. It really surprised me that he looked like our best all-around player on the court. Besides, Julius Randle.
Yeah, I mean,
And also, his strength, no one was talking about that coming out in the draft.
yeah,
but
his strength is ridiculous. I was saying this earlier today. I mean, it's crazy. He's not just strong for a rookie, for a 19-year-old rookie. He's strong for an NBA player.
It's his
I
upper-
posted something earlier. He
yeah,
was
it's
bodying Jacob Pertl. I mean, he was bodying Drew Holiday in the preseason. He's not just he's just a strong NBA player. It's just crazy to say about a 19-year-old. But yeah, you're saying, I mean, RJ is the reason why you stay optimistic. When people ask you why do you still root for the Knicks? They suck forever. Well, it's the third pick in the draft. At the same time, you have the back of the head. All right, this is a guy that was inefficient playing next to the best college player ever. So how good could a player who doesn't shoot? How good could that guy be? He's a very weird player, and this one game doesn't necessarily mean that.
Well-
But the fact he's. I mean, it's kind of like Summer League. It's kind of like preseason to now. He's kind of just getting better and better, and it's I don't know. It's really nice to see that so far. It's not looking like he's the inefficient shot chucker people were expecting him to be.
You have to look at it like this: going into college, if we all go back 2 years ago, NBA Twitter and the common storylines was that oh, Zion can do that against 14-year-olds on overtime high school videos, but once he goes to college, blah, blah, blah. And RJ was that number one recruit. RJ was the guy going into college that everyone would thought, oh, he's the sure thing, like he's the best player in the class, Zion's overrated. And then the second Zion started doing that in college, like the narrative completely shifted to RJ being trash or RJ being a chucker.
Yeah, I was definitely getting out my RJ slander. I was making my RJ is going to annoy Kevin Durant next year.
I know you did.
Yeah, and that they aged really nice.
I wasn't super worried about his efficiency coming out of college, at least not versus his contemporaries, other than like Zion, obviously. I like his 3-point shooting left a lot to be desired because he only shot like 31% on decent volume, but he did shoot like 45% overall, which isn't half bad considering how much Coach K relied on him in college. I was probably I think I was higher on RJ than most people going into the draft. I don't know. On Locked on Knicks, we tried to interview as many people as possible, get as many different opinions as we could leading up to the draft. And even the ones that were sort of down on RJ were yeah, I'm kind of down on him, but I don't think that I can move him lower than third in the draft. Because we try to push them. We'd be like, well, so what do you think of Jarrett Culver? What do you think of Darius Garland? What do you think of, this guy, that guy? And all these different draft experts would be like, I think all those guys could potentially be better than RJ, but I just don't feel comfortable putting them, above RJ. And, that was kind of the general consensus that we came to, talking to Jonathan Wasserman, Ricky O'Donnell, Cole Zwicker, stuff like that. So, I felt pretty good about him going into the season. I didn't think he'd be anything like this, though. To your guys' point, the efficiency in the first game was insane, even compared to preseason, where he, was shooting well, but, he had 1 or 2 games where he took, I think one game he finished 4 or 14 or something like that. That was probably his worst percentage-wise game. So I kind of took me by surprise just how well he was playing, but it's something that I feel like we saw throughout preseason. He just kept getting better and better and better and better, and then suddenly now we're in the regular season, and he's the one guy that, despite playing entirely too many minutes over the preseason, he looks tuned up. He's ready to go. His finishing is already almost elite at an NBA level, just because of that strength you guys mentioned, his ability to work through contact. He doesn't even have to get high off the ground to find a way to get the ball in the
Yesterday
loop.
he
It's
was
just
7 for
brilliant
7 on layups. He's 7 for 7 at the rim.
And if you look back at, after the game, not looking at it in real time, and you look at the clips of his layups, just the way that just his finishing and how unorthodox it is and how he can finish through contact, it's hard to compare it to another player in the league just in terms of style. He really there's a lot of double clutching, and his angles are better than I thought they were.
But at the same time, we'll see how he's definitely strong, but we'll see how sustainable it is. 7 for 7 at the rim. That may, I'm sure he's not going to continue to make every layup. That's part of the reason why I was talking to someone who was I was asking, why should I be optimistic on RJ? Doesn't really seem like he's good at anything but taking shots. And they're like, well, it seems like he honestly got, a lot of, unlucky misses. That was J-Nay1 on Twitter. He's a smart fellow. But, yeah, so, maybe now he's regressing to me. The thing that makes my most optimistic thing about RJ, even if he does, say he's not actually going to average an efficient 20 every game, and by the end of, and teams figure him out a bit as the year goes on, they're like, oh, maybe we should stop letting the guy that can't shoot get to the rim every time. Maybe they're playing around him a little bit. The thing that I like the most is just exactly what you were saying. In Summer League, he started off so badly, and everyone was roasting him. And then as it went on, he got better. And then in preseason, he started off really inefficient. By the end, he got better. So, that's what I like to see, that he's not just he has the right mentality, that he's seeing what works, and then he's changed his mindset. This is a guy that's not afraid of anything. So that's what I like him about. That's one of my favorite things about him. That he definitely has the right mentality. He's very smart. He's not gonna just chuck. He's not gonna just keep chucking threes at 31% and be like, oh no, it's definitely gonna start falling. He's adapting as he goes on. And it's kind of weird how much more he's seeming to do that in the NBA than he did at Duke. Though at the same time, what was different at Duke is the shooters around him were horrible. So I think that's contributing to that spread out NBA court and having more competent shooting too.
You know what else is really interesting to me about his finishing is he doesn't like get a ton of extension on his layups. Like it's almost like he's firing from the hip in a way. And, that's how he's able to, with a guy like smothering him still, get up these layup attempts. All of them are going like high off the glass. And he just puts this like perfect amount of English on it. And it just like gently drops back down into the hoop then. And it's just, I don't know, it's really cool. Like the way that he attacks the rim is very interesting. Like it's actually kind of funny because, if you want to compare him to Zion, he's almost like the way that he approaches attacking the rim is like the polar opposite of how Zion does it. And I think he's even made some improvements in that regard since being at Duke. Like the game that turned him off to me, or turned me off to him, I should say, at Duke a little bit was the relatively early season game last year where they played Gonzaga in like the Hawaii tournament. And he just went like, and I mean, this is partly on Coach K for being completely unimaginative, but they basically just called RJ for ISO like 5 straight possessions, and he just got stuffed by Brandon Clark or Rui Hachimura right at the rim every single time on like 5 straight possessions. And I remember thinking then, like, wow, this kid's pretty big. Like, how does he not have more oomph behind those layups? And now it seems like he's like perfected that and almost turned it into like an art form. So that's pretty cool to see that he's able to, without putting a ton of strain on himself, to use his athleticism too much, he can still put up these efficient layup attempts and even in some cases finish through contact and draw fouls and all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah. All right, so pivoting a bit, speaking of guards playing up or down to expectations, let's go from positive to negative. And I guess the first bad guard we could talk about is Dennis Smith Jr. Okay. Definitely, I'm not a big Dennis Smith guy. But so far in this first game, he looked pretty like atrocious, like Fultz-esque. But at least when Fultz was like screwed up with the Sixers, he was getting triple doubles. He only did play 10 minutes. They'll figure it out. But that like 1-3 took that like barely. He's looking no bueno.
Here's how I view it. Like, I don't know if you remember seeing Clarence Gaines's tweet maybe like a few weeks ago talking about DSJ. And he said it was something about basically like, oh, like I obviously like Dennis Smith Jr., but it's all about whether he can match his intensity level with his talent level. And like that's the thing with Fultz is even with his shoulders not working and him having no extension on his jump shots and those crazy free throws from last season, like he's always engaged defensively. Like you always see him bouncing around the court. He pushes the ball up court well. And like my issue with Dennis Smith Jr. is like if he's not starting and if he's only getting, let's say, 10 to a max 25 minutes a game, if he's not, I don't know, playing up to his level in those minutes, I don't think he's going to be engaged. And I think him not engaged is really not a great player at all.
That's what's kind of concerning. I know last year a lot of people were talking about his like improvements defensively, but like that's the thing. It's one thing if you're not like, if his shot's broken, but and he did look like he was a little screwed up in that Pelicans game, but there was some things to look forward to. But just in general, he just kind of looked like a bit slow defensively, which is pretty disappointing. I don't know. What do you think about Dennis Smith so far, Alex, in this one game sample size?
I feel pretty depressed because I actually like Dennis Smith. It sucks. Like he didn't look good. I think if I may borrow a talking point from Schwinny Poo, who I'm sure is a friend of the show or soon to be friend of the show. Yeah, friend of everybody, enemy of many as well. But if I may borrow one of his talking points, I think DSJ is still hurt. He looks like a guy who's being tentative with how he's playing. And like there was one play last night where he kind of showed the explosion that I think of from him. And it was he drove the ball down the court, gave it off to someone. It was just like a quick give and go. And he took it on the give and go and just like exploded to the rim for this great layup. And then after that, there wasn't really much going on for him. And as you said, the jumper just looks really horrific. It's really, really bad. All those workout videos over the summer seem to be worth nothing because somehow, it looked like it was getting better in those videos. And then now somehow in practice in the games, it actually looks like it's gotten worse from last year. Yeah. It was just, it was really bad. It was like an early Halloween present watching him shoot the basketball.
I mean, it's a little weird how little, I don't know. I felt like I feel like everyone got mad if I feel like his hits was a little bit of the elephant in the room. Like people, I don't know. It's not normal for you to just all of a sudden have a hits, even if he was hurt. I don't know. It's very concerning stuff. And even though his shot did look better during the offseason, there was that video of him shooting free throws looking bad. And the other thing, everyone was hyping up that Drew League game. I got a little bit of crap for talking about this, but he did in that Drew League game. He went up for 50 points. He did shoot 18 for 42. I know it's Drew League, but even if you're not trying, how do you I don't know, if you're an NBA player and no one's trying, you should accidentally make more than 18 of 42 shots. But even though I'm not that optimistic about DSJ, I will put on a positive spin. This is a guy that was out for most of training camp at preseason. He is changing up his shot, and he's I'd say in that Pelicans game there were flashes. He was moving the ball well, and there was a 3 he took that didn't count that went in, and another 3 he took that went in that looked good. So a lot of it may just be, especially with a hitch, you have to assume a lot of it is mental. And so the hope is that he can overcome it and he doesn't just completely get ruined. So that was really tough to watch last night, but hopefully if they stick with him a bit, he can eventually get his stuff together. I wouldn't be against. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to do what I feel like the Knicks are normally against this unless you're Luke Cornett or Damian Dotson. But if he's this screwed up, just let him go to the G League and let him go off. Let him get 30 points on Jordan, Wraith, and Mays.
I feel like I would say for most players, that's for Frank. I would love to see him go play 35 minutes a night in Westchester, put up 18 to 20 points. I would love that. But with DSJ, part of me thinks that him going to Westchester, I don't know if that does him any good just because I feel like if Dennis Smith Jr. plays 10 games with the Westchester Knicks, he's going to want to go in there and score as much as possible. He's going to take 30 shots a game. And I feel like it's the sort of thing that, he'd obviously be the best player on the team. I feel like it would more reinforce, I don't know, his not great habits over. It's also we do have to cut him some slack because this is a completely different Knicks team. You're playing with a completely different team.
There are a lot of facts. He's come off injury. He changed his shot. But we'll see. There were, again, you're talking about his bad habits. He did, pass a good deal on the Pelicans game. So hopefully, hopefully, he can get his stuff together. And we don't have to, and hopefully if he's in his next stint, he doesn't look bad. Against the Nets next game, they're pretty bad at defense, so hopefully he can get it going. And you mentioned him, and the other horrific guard from last night, Frank Ntilikina. Hopefully he can get it going.
Here's what I'm going to say about Frank. There's no way that how he was put in the game yesterday did him any favors. First of all, not putting him in at the first half at all, that's already going to shoot his confidence. Having him come off the bench after Wayne Ellington, be the 10th guy, come into the game with, what was that, 3 minutes left in the third quarter or something along that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they're not doing this wholeheartedly. I don't know if they really want him to get a shot. We were talking about last night, if there's something behind the scenes, because we know how dependent his game is on confidence and not being passive. And I feel like letting him get 7 minutes in the second quarter to get in the groove of things, I think it helps because he looked bad last night. He looked definitely bad, but that just seems like the same old way of just throwing him in last 3 minutes of a quarter and being oh, you didn't do anything, all right, you're out.
That's true. At the same time, he turned it over 3 times in 3 possessions. He didn't do himself any favors.
He did not.
At some point,
he did not. You can't make excuses for him.
You can't blame everything on that. That is kind of true. I would just like to see for these first 15 to 20 games. Yeah, 3 minutes is too little. Hopefully, like they keep. I hope they're not from that. They're gonna be like, nah, like that's enough of Frank. Like they should give him. They should still give him some chances. I mean, I was on the train that Frank should start. I guess maybe not because Payton did look solid last night, but like this shouldn't be the end of Frank just because he had like one bad game. I would stick with him again. I think the Nets are a good. Nets and the Celtics, those are two teams. Like the Nets are a team he kills, and Kemba is a player he kills. So hopefully he gets some opportunities in these next two games to show he can be a competent basketball player. I mean, even if he shows he's just incapable at point guard, I mean, I do think he's more of a point guard, but at least they should give him more minutes. They go as 5 minutes for him at like shooting guard just to get some defense because the defense still was not, we were pretty good offensively yesterday, but the defense was not good. Alex Wolfe, what are your thoughts on Frank and his 3-minute disaster class?
Yeah, I think I'm like sort of with you guys in many respects on this. Like, I think Frank did not deserve to play more than 3 minutes yesterday. Because the reality was like the Knicks were in position to win that game and Frank started. I mean, it sucks that it was him because we know how easy it is for him to get into the doghouse with Fizdale. But Frank started what ended up being the game-clinching run for San Antonio by, turning over the ball those couple times, giving them those easy layups and committing fouls on them too. So he gifted them 6 points that started off. I'm pretty sure that was what started the 18-0 run. If not, it was very adjacent to it and gave them the momentum that they needed. So, I mean, that was bad. And he deserved to be pulled for that. Now, so I don't fault Fizdale at all for handling it how he did the first night. What I'm going to get pissed at is if, like what you said, Bootum, if Fizdale, then benches him long-term and starts not playing him just based off literally 3 minutes. I mean, that would be very reminiscent of last year when he was part of that great starting lineup, like the only positive starting lineup the Knicks had. And then after one bad half against like the Orlando Magic, he benched Frank, and then things never really were the same for Frank again for the whole rest of the year. In this case, obviously it's a little different, but I thought that he definitely earned playing time going into yesterday. He unearned it by how he played. And it's okay. Like, I'm a Frank supporter. It's okay to say that. Like, you could say he didn't play well, because he didn't. And he didn't deserve to play more because the Knicks actually had a chance to win yesterday's game, which would have been a huge confidence boost for everybody. And it's a new year, this team at its best, if everything fell in the right place, could maybe contend for a playoff spot. It's probably like a 5% chance or less, but you may as well try to start off on the right foot and win that first game. And so I didn't fault Fizz at all for that. Ultimately, I do want to see, like you said, two really good matchups for Frank, two very good guards, but guards that he has had a good deal of success against defensively in the past. Hopefully Fizdale recognizes that and puts him out there against Kyrie Irving and Kemba Walker, because Frank has given both those guys fits a number of times in his first couple years in the league. So that's something that I definitely want to see.
Yeah, and I mean, he definitely did unearn his minutes last night, but he did earn them a bit. And with all the talk during preseason, obviously Payton played well last night.
Well, and you know what? One other thing too, if I may, other thing too is that he did actually make two good plays to start his stint, and things just didn't really break his way. Yeah. He ran a great pick and roll with Taj Gibson.
Yeah, no, that pass to Taj Gibson was great.
Taj flubbed the dunk.
That dunk. And then he had that steal, or I don't know, hit the layup that was goaltended, right? It was goaltended, right?
It was goaltended, but Pirtle wasn't called for it. It looked like Frank just flubbed the layup. That's why they didn't call it.
Weird. I mean, I don't know. He it's hard to say this after last game, and I'm not saying he should just be gifted minutes, but he did show he's improved. It would just be nice if they could just stop. Obviously, he's a guy lacking confidence. It would just be nice if for once you could be like, all right, Frank, all right, little buddy, we're just going to give you, some minutes here. Don't worry. Because obviously it gets to his head. I mean, he does stupid...
And also, the way that Fizdale does it, the way how he, has made it be okay, preseason... each one of you guys is going to get a DNP because this is a 3-way competition. I want you guys to get as much run as possible so I can make this decision. And then, like, him being so evasive and then revealing last minute, like, oops, gotcha, no one earned it. Like,
Yeah.
Alonzo's going to start. It's like, what?
And Alonzo, he was also screwing with all preseason, not letting have
like,
minute.
and like
I don't know.
Alonzo was posting like passive aggressive
Yeah.
like memes, and like he was like, oh, he's not ISO Zoe anymore. I mean, like, I don't know. I just wish it was handled in a way that seemed less gimmicky. Because if he just sat Frank down and was like, listen, like, I have faith in you, but this is also like Elfrid Payton is a good is a solid
He started
point guard.
Frank Stanton was roasting him all preseason, and he wasn't good preseason. But at the same time, it's a solid. I mean, that's the thing. Elfrid Payton, he was very bad during preseason, but that's who not he is to play. He played 3 games. Same thing with Frank last night. He played 3 minutes. So hopefully, the way they gave Payton a chance anyway, they give Frank a chance going forward.
I think my hope, at least for tomorrow's game, against the Nets, is that like Alfred starts. Obviously, like that should happen. Like he just earned that. He had a great first game. But I hope that, I think if you're looking at it objectively between DSJ and Frank, like who should be the first, and Trier, if we want to play that game, between those 3, Frank, despite the 2 costly turnovers and the lowest amount of play time, I think he earned the right to be the first one off the bench, to at least play some defense, because like DSJ looked bad on both sides of the ball, and Trier just was a garbage fire. He was bad. And I love Trier, but he was bad in that first game. He was so bad.
I was kind of supporting.
I didn't like the process, but I was kind of like cautiously optimistic about the Trier starting decision because I don't know. I do think he could take that jump to be that guy. Obviously, last night he struggled. So.
I just feel like
But
I'm so conflicted on Trier
nice.
Because he was so exciting to watch last year as like undrafted, and like you see all his crazy dunks and like just his ISO swag and just how good he is off the dribble. But at the same time, like, we obviously know the vets on the team last year did not like him. Like, there was all those stories about how he was the last picked in every single pickup game that they would do. And, like, obviously, like, Trey Burke and Tim Hardaway Jr., who I guess don't have much to stand on in terms of criticism. But I don't know. I think I definitely have reservations over how big of a role I want him to have moving forward. Like, if he's going to come off the bench and just be like an offensive spark plug for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like, sure. But I don't think I would be upset if he continues to get, like, even if it's like first guy off the bench minutes over Frank or DSJ in a lineup with RJ.
Well, I don't know. I just want to see. I kind of agree with what you're saying about his mentality and stuff, and that's definitely a concern. And while he was a rookie last year and he could change his stuff, he is 23. He's had these concerns all his career. Though, what I do like is that he definitely is making. There's all this talk about him being less ISO now, and he's made an effort to be more off ball. So same thing goes with Trier, and I want to see all these guys just get opportunity. I don't know why we have to stand at a 10-man rotation. We're not competing for anything.
If the Pelicans,
I don't know, especially during preseason,
and especially
I would just like
what
to
you
see
posted.
all these guys get opportunities.
Wayne Ellington looked
Pelicans
bad.
at first regular season game had 12 minutes, but yeah, exactly. Wayne Ellington
looked bad.
He's probably the best shooting guard on the team, but he's not. Oh no, best shooting guard excluding RJ Barrett. But there's no reason for Frank, DSJ, like all these guys should be getting reps, and it doesn't have to be on a game-by-game basis. Like the Pelicans, the first game played 12 young guys. We have a lot of young guys. RJ Barrett doesn't need to play 40 minutes a game. We could get all these guys in. I hope we do. I wouldn't mind even seeing Frank and DSJ both come off the bench at the same time. We have a lot of things we could do. It doesn't have to be Alonzo Trier. I just hope we see all these guys get run.
I guess to your point about like minutes distribution, like, yes, RJ doesn't have to play 35, 40 minutes a game, but based at least off last night, it did seem like if you want to win, RJ is probably going to have to play 35 to 40 minutes a night.
Well, yeah.
We're still probably not going to – I'm not saying, 35 minutes is already a lot. Like, that's like hardened territory. And RJ is like a freak athlete, so he probably could handle that. But like I don't know, it's a young team. I mean, maybe this has to be RJ, but like there's minutes to go around. We don't have to cap it at just 10. I mean, we haven't even talked about Iggy Brazdeikis.
Wait, before we get into that, I do want to make one last. I want to ask Alex really quickly,
Yes.
and also like we haven't talked about him yet. I don't know. Last night, Kevin Knox looked really promising.
Oh yeah,
And we haven't talked about him yet. And I think last year, him being the number one option on our team and putting up 35 minutes a game and just having like kind of no fire under his
Tuchis.
yeah, like, no cursing here at the BU podcast program. But I don't know, like he hit those threes and he still needed some. He was getting pushed around by DeRozan defensively,
Yeah, the
but like
defense isn't there.
But I don't know. I honestly like this role for him to start, where like he really like if I think it's really good for him to be put in game situations where the minutes really matter. And I think last year he got too comfortable just kind of playing to play. And I think like him coming off the bench now as that 6th or 7th guy, I don't know. Like I really liked what I saw from him last night.
Yeah, I mean he looks a lot just smoother, and,
Stronger, definitely stronger,
and just competenter offensively. I think he's ready to make that jump from horrible to just bad. And I mean, yeah, I like that's all I'm asking for like Frank and stuff. Like I'm not gonna cry that he needs to be starting playing 35 minutes a game, but like just 20 minutes a game, like let him earn it. Let him like show they need more minutes than that. But like give him the opportunity. Like Knox is, Knox last year played so much, and he was literally probably the worst player. He had one of the worst seasons ever. So it's just like giving these guys a little bit of confidence, and just giving them a little bit of a let them go. But yeah, like just 20 minutes. I think it's a perfect role for Knox, and I would like to see similar things for all the other young guys instead of Wayne Ellington. Your thoughts, Alex Wolfe?
Yeah, I think that Knox kind of, like to your guys' point about the defense, I think he just kind of was unlucky last night in a way, or maybe Fizdale sort of set him up in a bad way, because like Knox can play small forward sometimes. He can't really defend it that well. And like the Spurs play pretty small. DeRozan plays small forward for them most of the time, despite the fact that he's, like for most of his career, he was considered a shooting guard. But he mostly plays small forward for San Antonio now because they tend to go on the smaller side of things as far as lineups go. So like, it's just kind of a crappy situation for him to be put up against DeRozan. Like, of course, he's going to get cooked over and over if they keep letting him get cooked by DeRozan.
I keep watching DeRozan when he's like doing well and baiting people with his pump fakes. Ugh.
And like his turnaround range.
Yeah, like I think he sucks, but like when he's doing well, it's I hate that guy.
Yeah. So I mean that part was no good. But if you just look at him from where Knox is the most useful, which is offense, I mean he was fantastic. He did a little bit of everything. The only thing I don't remember seeing from him that I saw a lot during preseason was like a picture perfect cut. But he was moving. I mean, the thing that impressed me the most, I talked about this on Locked On Knicks last night with Knox, was that, and I think I tweeted this too, I was very impressed by this. Knox was just like constantly moving last night, like, which was nice because especially to begin the game, it was just like ISO, 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 ISO. And it was like, okay, when is someone going to freaking move without the ball and like force the action here? And Knox did that. I mean, he like from the second he got in, even at first he didn't shoot like the best percentage right off the bat. But I mean, he was just like constant motion. Like, okay, I'm going to run around the perimeter. Like, I'm going to try to make a cut. I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to do that.
It's sad how notable that is on this Knicks team. Just like playing basketball, like moving around. Like it's such like, I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just like, it's so much not that with this team. I mean, it is nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's depressing that that's something that I could be like, wow, a guy moving without the ball, how great. But like, it was great. It was cool to watch. And then like, he pulled off a brilliant like jab step 3-pointer was his first bucket of the game, and it just looks so like silky and effortless for him. I really think like this year, I mean, he still might be still kind of a project this year because I mean, he was one of the youngest players in the league last year. He's still younger than like half the rookies that came in this year. I think he's still reasonably going to be a project going into next year, but I think this year we're going to really see the glimmers of like a guy who could be like a truly special scorer. If he
all you
keeps
could ask
developing
for is
like he
improvement.
Yeah.
All right, so we've hit 36 minutes, so we'll end by talking about the per 36 All-Star of the day.
Oh, this is a
Hall
good
of
one.
Famer Tracy McGrady, but not the good Tracy McGrady. The washed up Knicks.
You mean the
Tracy
You mean
McGrady.
the great Tracy McGrady? Because that game against the Thunder
Yeah,
was a
I was at that
historic game.
But anyway,
That was a historic
Alex Wolfe
game.
is wearing a Tracy McGrady jersey.
Yeah,
What?
if I may, hold on. Let me see if I can capture this.
Yeah,
I might be too tall.
very nice.
That's great. I thought it was a jersey.
I
That's a
actually
real
got
jersey.
a jersey too. I remember vividly. This was at a time where I did not care about basketball. Shows how like much of a noob and fake man I am talking about basketball. But like I went to that game. I did not care about basketball at the time. I remember. I think my mom took the last Tracy McGrady jersey before another mom did, and she just gave like the dirtiest look ever. And Tracy McGrady got buckets that game. He put up 26 in his debut. I remember they played I'm Coming Home, or maybe that was for Mel, or maybe it was for both. I don't know. Anyway, it was a good, fun game. He got buckets, and then he sucked for the rest of that. His per 36 stats, they're honestly not. They're pretty not. He averaged 13 points, 5.1 rebounds per game, and 5.3 assists per 36. That's pretty depressing from a guy that was like averaging 25, 5, and 5, and like no better than that in like real minutes. But yeah,
Well, that's
so
because they played him 26 minutes a game, and he shot 39% from the floor and
24% from three.
As a Knick. It was
Yeah.
pretty depressing.
And
The
fun.
first game was amazing, though. That was
Yeah,
literally
this is great.
one of my favorite. Okay, so a couple of Tracy McGrady things for why he's my like per 36 All-Star here. And not that his per
6 numbers were actually good, but you told me to pick a scrub.
Six All-Star, yeah.
He was undoubtedly a scrub with the Knicks. But like, first off, he was my favorite player like all throughout being a kid, because my favorite player could never really be a Knick because the Knicks were terrible. I just liked the Knicks for whatever reason. But T-Mac was like my favorite player by far. And then when he finally got traded, like that game against the Thunder, I remember was literally like appointment television for me. Like I made sure to sit down and watch that game, and it was like one of the coolest games I've ever watched in my life, because it was just like, for one night at least, it was like a dream come true for me. I was like, oh my God, Tracy McGrady's a freaking Knick, and he just dropped like 26 points, and I thought he was going to ball out the rest of the year. They were going to re-sign him, and him and LeBron were going to run the league the next year or something, because I was a stupid idiot. But yeah, so that was that. And then this jersey, I literally spent like 5 year looking for on eBay. I'm pretty sure this is one of like 30 like stitched Tracy McGrady jerseys that actually exists in the world.
I got one of them. I got one from that first game from the team.
Is it actually? It's not like a jersey. It's like legit one, like the stitch.
It's a jersey. It's like I think a white Knicks Tracy McGrady jersey. I wish I had it here, but yeah, I very much bought one that game. It's definitely too small me now.
Yeah, this one like barely fits me. Like I'm an XL normally, and this is a large, but luckily jerseys like run kind of big. So yeah, I made it work. It fits more like a tank top than a jersey, but I don't care. I love it.
Tracy McGrady. He was traded for Jordan Hill, who's the 9th pick. Jared Jeffries, who I guess they got back. I didn't, this is before my time. And a 2012 first-round draft.
This was my wheel. This was my
Like-
Knicks fandom. This was
Well-
like the Jared Jeffries, Malik Rose.
They ended up
Ronaldo-
getting Jared Jeffries back. I didn't know that he was
Yeah,
gone.
they brought it back. Do you guys want like the history lesson real quick on this one?
Yeah, sure. But I'm just saying,
Were
like,
you-
if that
wait,
happened today, if they
Alex.
traded Frank for a washed-up, like, star, if they traded, like, Frank for, like,
Jordan Hill, the second he was chosen,
Yeah.
he was
yeah,
awful.
and a first-round. I know, but
was
still, I'm
awful.
just
Yeah.
saying, like,
Yeah.
they.
Well, first off, that was
But yeah,
Jordan Hill's rookie year, and Jordan Hill sucked. Like, to be completely frank, like it was a bad pick.
Frank Neely-
He was
Alex, you can back this up, right?
what?
Remember watching like Jordan Hill's first few games, and you obviously went into it with optimism, but you knew after really like a half that he just was not a good player.
Oh yeah, and you knew that it was a terrible pick. Like at the time, like they were zeroed in on Steph Curry, and Curry got taken, and so their solution, instead of taking Brandon Jennings, who was like a fantastic point guard prospect at the time, or DeMar DeRozan, who was a great prospect in his own right, they took Jordan Hill because I think they got shook and they didn't know what the hell to do. And So they just were like, Jordan Hill, I guess. I don't know. His name is Jordan. He must be like Michael. But like, I don't know what their rationale was. It was a horrible pick. It was always a horrible pick because they didn't need bigs at that time. That was the other thing. You know, they had bigs on the roster.
Yeah.
So it was always a head scratcher. Like what they needed for the last 20 years is lead point guard.
Sorry.
So if we're gonna go into this era, I'll tell a really quick crazy story,
right.
and then we can.
We got it.
This is a crazy story. So, my dad used to be really good friends with this like trainer at a Reebok gym near my house, and she was like this girl, and like she used to play college basketball, and I would always just like when I was at the gym, like when I was really young, she would always let me know when players and teams were practicing there, and so I remember I went. And this was right after Ronaldo Balkman. I don't know if you remember Ronaldo Balkman, but he went from the Knicks to the Nuggets. Of course you do.
I even know Ronaldo.
Yeah.
He's like a PNT guy.
Yeah. But so Ronaldo Balkman, I have my mini basketball. I got Melo's autograph on that Nuggets team. It was right after George Karl's, like it was a really significant win. I met George Karl. Ronaldo Balkman comes up to me with his phone number scribbled on a piece of paper and goes, "Hey, little man, can you go give this to your mother over there?" So, first of all, he thought the trainer was my mom. Second of all, he was trying to get me to put him on with someone who he thought was my mom. And I went to, and this woman was named Jade. I was like, "Hey, Jade, like Ronaldo Balkman like wants me to give you his number." And she like had a boyfriend. She was like, "Why don't you just keep it?" And so for years, I just held on to Ronaldo Balkman's phone number until I got the courage in like 8th grade to call it. I was with Jared Maharaj.
All right, stop bringing up like people from like.
Okay, I'm just saying. And then I called Ronaldo Balkman and I had a 10-second conversation with him, and that was that. And that's my story. So.
Do you still have the phone number? We should call him.
It was your mom.
I should have. Had I been thinking more long game, I would have.
Do you still have his phone number?
Ronaldo Balkman.
I do not still have his phone number.
That's a shame. All right.
It is a shame.
We got to wrap things up. We got a soccer podcast waiting outside.
Yeah, you can hear them waiting.
Yeah, we'll keep them waiting. You could wait, to talk about who made one. In basketball, like, RJ Barrett scored like 20 times. At soccer, they score once a game. Like, what are you talking about? Like, oh, a guy scored yesterday. Oh, big news. Like, how do you even know who's good in soccer? All right. Anyway, before I get too much into how soccer is the worst sport, Alex Wolfe, I assume just just plug your stuff. Follow you on Twitter.
All right, follow me on Twitter at the Alex Wolfe. Follow Posting and Toasting at PT Knicks blog. Go read Posting and Toasting. Myself, Bootum, many other people right there. Very good website. And check out Locked On Knicks at Locked On Knicks on Twitter. Available wherever podcasts are sold. We're pretty much daily right now because it's in the regular season now. So we're doing like 4 or 5 shows a week. So definitely check that out. And that's pretty much it. That's all I got to promote.
All right.